Hello, in this video we will be looking at Bhagavad Gita Chapter 2 verse 1. I'll read it through first without and then with the text up on screen. Sanjaya Uvacha Tan Tata Kripaya Vishtam Ashrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. I'll call up the text. There we are. Oops. And with the Devanagari as well. Oops, sorry, my screen's partly in the way for the Devanagari. Don't know what to do about that now. Oh, maybe I could move this down a bit. Here we are. Tan tata kripaya vishtamashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. Sanjaya uvacha. Sanjaya said, I don't think we've dealt with this before in this series, that Sanjaya is the charioteer and advisor of the blind king Dhritarashtra, who's the commander of the opposing forces against whom Arjuna is about to fight. And this is a literary device that Sanjaya, who by his psychic powers has vision of what's going on and is being said all around the field of battle, relates it to King Dhritarashtra. And that is why the Bhagavad Gita, a lot of it appears in the form of what is narrated by Sanjaya. It's a literary device to have one person narrating the entire course of events. So, Tantata kripaya vishtamashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvacha madhusudanaha. So I fell into the trap there of pronouncing short eh. It's ekshanam, akulekshanam. The subject of this sentence is Madhusudana, literally Madhu destroyer, the destroyer of Madhu. In Hindu mythology, Madhu was a demon who was killed or destroyed by Krishna. So Madhusudanaha, Madhu destroyer, is one of the epithets of Krishna. So that's in the nominative because he is the subject of the sentence. So Madhusudana said, as Uvacha said to him. First word in the verse, tam. Remember, in English we say something to somebody or we speak to somebody. The verbs vach and vad in Sanskrit and Pali take a direct object. So Madhusudana, the slayer of Madhu, Uvacha, said tam to him. Does mean to Arjuna. Said what? Idam vakyam. Literally, this speech, this speaking. So the verb uvacha, he said, and vakyam, speech, are both from our same root, vach. Let me give you the iPad. Hopefully it will come up. Here we are, yeah. So from our root, oops. So here we are. Vach, and it makes vak. speech, it also makes vakya, a neuter noun, meaning that which is spoken or said, just said these words. The form of the verb uvacha, it's actually a reduplicated perfect. And in the notes, I've given you a reference to MacDonnell, paragraph 138.8. Briefly, we have the root vach, and you make what's called the reduplicated perfect. Just look at the third person singular for the moment. So partially reduplicate the root, not the whole vach, but just va. If it's a short a, lengthen it. So it would be vavacha. What happens by samprasarana? Samprasarana is a phenomenon of Sanskrit phonetics, whereby an unstressed, because in Vedic times it was stressed on the R, vavacha would have been. So if you had a va before the stressed syllable, it would just soften to an u, so uvacha. And the same phenomenon we see from root vach plus ta for the past participle. Remember, in Vedic, it was, even though short, it was stressed. It would be vachta, therefore becoming vakta. But by the same phenomenon, this form, this asterisk means this form doesn't exist. I'm just putting it for illustrative purposes. It becomes ukta. So that's why, and by the way, I put the stress mark there, but we don't, let me just have that less ambiguous. This accent represents a stress in Vedic, an accented form, ukta. The effect and importance of the stress, in fact, even the stress itself, had largely disappeared by the time of classical Sanskrit. But the effect, the old grammatical effect of it, was retained. That is why in Sanskrit now we don't say vakta, but ukta. And in fact, it's the same ukta that in Pali has become vutta. So vutta in Pali from ukta, from vakta, from vach, meaning spoken, or said. So anyway, this vak, sorry, I mean, it's a vakya, speech that which is said. So idam vakyam uvacha, literally this speech he spoke. He spoke these words. Tam, to him. Tata, very common word meaning thus or in that way. So Madhusudana spoke these words to him who was thus, meaning in this way, as is about to be described. And then we have two adjectives. One is a compound adjective in the first line, quite a long compound adjective. It's so two kripayavishtam, one, ashrupurna kulekshanam, two, and three, vishidantam. That's the third adjective. So kripayavishtam, that is kripaya avishtam. Kripa means pity or compassion, and avishta means overcome. This is not a compound, by the way. This is the kripaya is fully declined. That's the instrumental form. So he was avishta kripaya, overcome by compassion. This could have been used, this could have been expressed in the form of a compound, in which case it would have been kripavishtam, and that would have been equally correct and would have had exactly the same meaning. So you have a choice here. The poet had a choice. Is he going to make a compound kripa avishtam by santi kripavishtam, or is he going to fully decline kripa as an independent word, which is what happens here, kripaya avishtam. Avishtam, it's from our root, vish, meaning to enter, and with ta means entered. Note that by Sandhi in Sanskrit, whenever you get a palatal sh, that's the one that's written like this, followed by a ta, it always becomes retroflex automatically becomes retroflex in Sanskrit. So the ishta becomes ishta. Oops, written like that, which is the sh plus ta becomes written shta. Now the prefix, the verbal prefix, the upasarga, a here, very common prefix, and it often has a dynamic sense, and it often has a sense of some kind of adversity. And interestingly enough, it often has that same sense in Latin, and thence into many English words that we have borrowed from Latin. The word I used just then was adversity. Remember that from the word verse, meaning to turn, you have reverse, to turn back, inverse, turn upside down. Adverse, ad means towards in Latin. It's directly cognate with this Sanskrit and Pali prefix a. Now, adverse turned towards you in its neutral sense, but actually then turned against you. Something is turned towards you, but against you in a hostile way, where like a misfortune befalling you. So if you look at our English word adverse, the ad there has very much the same force as the a in avishtam. So he has been entered by something, penetrated, overcome by it, overwhelmed by it, with this prefix here giving this dynamic sense of adversity. There's something unwanted happening to him. So he is overwhelmed, entered, penetrated, kripaya, by compassion. Means there's pity and compassion for the people he's going to have to kill. It's just so great. He is avishta by it. He's penetrated by it. Now we see the avishtam in the accusative here, and that is very simply because this is an adjective which agrees with tam, him, which is in the accusative because it's the object of the verb uvacha. So tam tata kripaya avishtam. Now we have a compound adjective here, ashrupurna akula ikshanam. Ikshanam, it's from the root iksh, from which we get our well-known, for example, upeksha, Pali upeka, upa iksha. The iksh, meaning to look, cognate with oculum in Latin, which you get ocular in relation to the eyes. Binoculars are like a telescope, a two-eyed telescope. Telescope you look at through both eyes, the binocular at the same time. Now, ikshana means, therefore, can mean a looking, and also means the eye, and by extension, it can mean one's expression, the way one looks. Just as in English, we have the verb to look. You're looking at something. And equally, he had a sad look about him, meaning his appearance to somebody else looking at him was sad. So this ikshana has both of these senses in Sanskrit as well. Now, Akula, um, in the first annotated text that I put up on my website or my Google Drive, I hadn't made a reference, but I have now. I've now put a reference to Akula, um, and just going to call up Akula now on my explanatory glossary. Here we are. Here we are. So it might be from the root kri. It's query whether Many Williams slightly doubts it, but it's the best we can do at the moment. And it means to scatter, and also from this, it may be from this Proto-Indo-European root meaning kel, klonos, swift motion, a violent motion, seems to be right. Let's provisionally take it as that. So akula, um, again we've got this kula. It's a little bit anomalous to have a noun or an adjective with a l from a root that's got a r. You'd expect kura or kara with a r, but it's become a l. A little bit anomalous. So akula would means then you're again this dynamic prefix a with the sense of something befalling, something bad befalling, an element of hostility of either a person or a fate towards you. So you're crowded in, you're confused, agitated. Also, sankula, all mixed up, is another. Well, it's a different word, but it has the same akula, sankula, have broadly speaking the same meaning. And you also have it with the prefix vi, so viakul, so viakula, and in modern Hindi you have that as well, vyakul, meaning bewildered or confused. So with his, sorry, where are we? Here we are. So we have Krishna here, sorry, Krishna, Arjuna, being who is akulikshanam with a confused or bewildered look, just to, and but this is further compounded. Ashrupurna, that's a very simple compound. Ashru means a tear, as in tears of crying, tears from the eyes. Purna means full. It's actually cognate with our English word full. In modern Hindi, it's pura. English full. In Latin, it became plenus, to get plenitude, and pletus, meaning full, for in English, complete, replete, deplete. Deplete just means to unfill. Replete means you're filled back up, refilled, as in you've eaten well, you aren't replete, you're refilled. So here is Ashrupurna Akula Ikshanam, literally tear full, agitated look, with his look or with his face full of tears and agitation, distress, and worry. Vishidantam, this is yet another adjective, again in the accusative to agree with tam. So kripya tam, the accusative tam, kripya vishtam, ashupurna collectionam, vishidantam, all of these accusatives here. So vishidantam, we've seen this before, it means despairing. We've examined it in detail in the earlier notes, and I've put also a detailed note in it down here. So from the root sad, to sit, a little bit irregular because in the present tense you don't say sadati, you say sidati. We see the same, the I phenomenon in English actually, because we have our verb to sit and we make the past tense sat. Anyway, here we are, slightly irregularly. we have present tense sidati. Um, the verbal noun with the prefix vi is visada, but by sandhi, because we have a s preceded in the same word by a vowel other than a, or a becomes a sh, so vishada. It's just a regular transmutation of that sound. So vishada is the collapsing or sinking, um, literally sitting apart or falling apart. And here, of course, in a moral, mental, spiritual sense, mentally, spiritually fallen to bits, so despairing, despondent. So I will read this to you once again before leaving. So tan tan ta ta. Sorry, I think I've had the wrong. I've been looking at something on the wrong screen. Sorry about that. So hopefully you got all that. I had the wrong thing up on my screen, on my recording screen. So tan tata kripaya vishtamashrupurna kule kshanam vishidantamidam vakyamuvarcha madhusudanaha. And once more. Tan tata kripaya vishtamashrupurna kule kshanam vishidantamidam vakyamuvacha madhusudana. And that's it on this video.